She walked past me on a warm Saturday afternoon, somewhere between the market stalls and the cafe on the corner. A woman, late 60s, silver locks cut to her jaw, soft and free, not stiff, not sprayed into place. Her hair moved the way healthy hair is supposed to move. When she turned her head to catch something in a shop window, the crown lifted gently and settled back down, like it had all the time in the world. Every woman nearby glanced at her, not at her outfit, not at her shoes, at her hair. And I stood there thinking, she knows something, something most of us were never taught, something that nobody put in the pamphlet when the estrogen started shifting and the strands started thinning. Welcome to Ebony Aura. This is the space where we talk honestly about beauty, confidence, and what it actually means to thrive in your 50s, 60s, and far beyond. And today, we are going into something real, something practical. 5 mistakes that are quietly working against your hair every single day, and exactly what to do instead. By the time this video ends, you will understand your hair differently, not as something that is failing you, but as something that is simply asking to be understood. Stay with me. Here is what the science actually tells us. After 60, declining estrogen causes the hair follicles themselves to shrink. Each strand that grows back comes in narrower than the one before it. At the same time, the scalp produces less natural oil. That means every strand is more exposed to damage. And for those of us with silver and gray hair, there is an added layer. Without melanin, gray hair has no built-in UV protection. It is uniquely vulnerable to moisture loss and breakage. Here's the part that matters most. Many of us are still styling our hair the way we styled it 20 years ago, with the same products, the same tools, the same habits. And those habits, designed for the thicker, oilier hair of our younger years, are quietly making our hair flatter, more brittle, and more fragile every single time. We are going to change that today. 5 mistakes, 5 corrections. None of them require expensive treatments. None of them ask you to become someone different. They just ask you to stop working against your hair and start working with it. One of the biggest mistakes is hiding in the first 60 seconds after you step out of the shower. Let us start there. Mistake number 1, washing your hair every single day. I know this one feels personal because for most of our adult lives, washing our hair every morning was part of the rhythm. It meant we were clean, put together, ready. That daily wash was a ritual, and rituals carry meaning. But after 60, your scalp chemistry has shifted, and daily washing is no longer helping your hair, it is hurting it. Here is why. Your scalp has sebaceous glands that produce natural oils. These oils travel down each strand from root to tip. They seal the cuticle, lock in moisture, and give hair its natural flexibility and shine. Think of them as your hair's built-in moisturizer, the one your body produces just for this purpose. After 60, declining estrogen causes those glands to slow down significantly. They produce far less oil than they used to. The cuticle, already more fragile on gray and silver hair due to the absence of melanin, becomes even more vulnerable. The hair dries out. It develops a rough texture. It stops reflecting light the way it once did. That flat, dull look you've been trying to solve with serums and shine sprays? In many cases, it is being caused by the very washing routine you put in place to feel fresh. The correction is not to stop washing entirely, it is to stretch the time between washes, every other day or every 3rd day, and when you do wash, use a sulfate-free shampoo. Sulfates are the detergents that create that thick, rich lather we were all trained to associate with clean. They are also extremely effective at stripping oil, far too effective for aging hair. a gentle sulfate-free formula, cleanses without stripping. On the days in between, rinse with water only or use a lightweight dry shampoo at the roots to absorb any excess oil without disturbing the strands. Over 2 to 3 weeks, something shifts. Your scalp adjusts. It stops overproducing oil to compensate for what is being stripped away. The hair begins to hold its natural softness. Volume at the crown improves simply because the strands are no longer being flattened by harsh daily cleansing. This one change costs nothing, and it resets the entire relationship between your scalp and your hair. Mistake number 2: brushing wet hair from root to tip. This happens in the first minutes after you step out of the shower, and it is responsible for more breakage than most women ever realize. Wet hair is structurally fragile. When your hair is saturated with water, the hydrogen bonds that give each strand its strength are temporarily broken. The shaft swells, the cuticle lifts, the entire fiber is stretched to its most vulnerable point. When you take a brush and drag it from scalp to ends, you are pulling on hair that is already at its limit. On thicker, younger hair, the strand absorbs that stress and recovers. On thinner, older hair, it snaps. Not always at the ends where you can see it, often mid-shaft, often at the crown, which is exactly where you need density the most. Day after day, that breakage adds up, and no volumizing product in the world can replace the strands you have lost. The correction is to detangle before you get in the shower, not after. Dry hair is stronger. Run a wide-tooth comb through your dry hair before washing to remove knots. After washing, gently squeeze out the water with a microfiber towel. Press, do not rub. Then let the hair air dry until it is at least 80% dry before you reach for any tool. If you absolutely need to detangle damp hair, start at the ends and work upward inch by inch. Hold the section above where you are combing so you are never pulling against the root. Use a wide-tooth comb on damp hair. Save your brush for dry styling. That distinction alone will save you more strands than any expensive treatment ever could. Now, I want to pause here for a moment because I know some of you are watching this and nodding along, recognizing yourself in these habits, and I want you to know that there is no judgment here. These were not mistakes born from carelessness. They were habits built with decades, long before anyone told us that our hair biology would change. We did what we were taught. Now we know better and we do better. That is what Ebony Aura is about. If this conversation is resonating with you, go ahead and subscribe. We are here every week talking about the things that actually matter for women like us. Mistake number 3: using heavy permanent color and frequent root touch-ups. This one requires some honesty, and I want to handle it gently because for many of us, coloring our hair is not about vanity. It is about identity. It is about looking in the mirror and seeing a version of ourselves we recognize. That is deeply personal, and it is valid. But the chemistry of permanent hair color is particularly demanding on thin, aging hair, and understanding the science might change how you approach your next salon visit. Permanent color works by lifting the cuticle open with ammonia, allowing the dye molecules to penetrate deep into the cortex, and then sealing them in with a developer, usually hydrogen peroxide. Every time you go through this process, the cuticle is forcibly opened and then only partially closed. On younger, thicker hair with strong natural oils and a healthy protein structure, the hair can tolerate this cycle for years. On older, thinner hair with less natural protection and a weaker internal structure, each color treatment causes cumulative damage. The cuticle stops closing completely. The protein bonds inside the shaft begin to break down. The hair becomes porous, absorbing moisture unevenly, swelling unpredictably, and drying with a texture that resists styling. For Black women, there is an added layer of consideration. Many of us are also navigating the intersection of chemical color with natural gray or silver hair that already has a different texture and porosity than it did before. The combination of color chemistry and that natural vulnerability can accelerate damage significantly. The alternative is not necessarily to stop coloring altogether. It is to explore demi-permanent glosses or semi-permanent toners. These formulas deposit color onto the surface of the hair without lifting the cuticle. They contain no ammonia, they use a much lower volume developer, and they fade gently over 4 to 6 weeks rather than creating a harsh line of regrowth. They will not give you complete gray coverage, but they will blend, soften, and add shine. Most importantly, they will not compromise the structural integrity of your hair in the process. Many women find that after a few months with a gentler color approach, their hair feels thicker, moves more freely, and holds a style longer because the strands are no longer fighting against chemical damage every single day. Mistake number 4, ignoring your scalp entirely. Most hair care advice for women over 60 focuses on the strands, the ends, the products, the style. Almost none of it talks about the scalp. And yet the scalp is where every single strand of hair begins its life. If the soil is not healthy, what grows from it will not be healthy either. After 60, the scalp undergoes its own aging process. Circulation to the follicles decreases, cell turnover slows, which means dead skin cells accumulate at the surface and can clog the follicle openings. Oil production drops, leaving the skin dry, tight, and sometimes flaky. These changes create an environment where hair grows back thinner with each cycle, not because the follicle is programmed to fail, but because it is not receiving the support it needs. The fix is incorporating scalp care into your weekly routine the same way you incorporate skincare into your facial routine, because your scalp is skin and it deserves the same attention. Twice a week, before you wash your hair, spend 2 minutes massaging your scalp with your fingertips, not your nails, the pads of your fingers. Start at the nape of your neck, work upward along the back of your head, move to the temples, and finish at the crown. Small, circular motions, gentle pressure. This stimulates blood flow to the follicles, delivering oxygen and nutrients directly to the root. It also helps loosen dead skin cells so they can be washed away cleanly. Pair this with a lightweight scalp oil. Look for formulas containing rosemary, peppermint, or tea tree. Rosemary oil, in particular, has been studied for its ability to support hair density. A study published in the journal Skin Med compared rosemary oil to minoxidil, the active ingredient in many hair regrowth products, and found that rosemary oil performed comparably over a 6-month period with significantly less scalp irritation. Apply a few drops to your fingertips, massage it in, and leave it for at least 30 minutes before washing. Overnight is even better. This is not a quick fix, it is a cumulative one. Over 2 to 3 months of consistent scalp care, many women notice less shedding, more density at the crown, and stronger new growth. The hair that comes from a well-nourished scalp is simply built better from the start. Mistake number 5, using the wrong hair accessories. This one sounds almost too simple to mention, but it is responsible for a surprising amount of the breakage that keeps thin hair from ever reaching its potential. The elastics, clips, and ties you use every day to pull your hair back, secure a style, or hold a bun in place are creating stress points on strands that are already fragile. Thin hair cannot absorb the same tension that thick hair handles without damage. A standard elastic with a metal connector, the kind sold in bulk packs at every beauty supply store, pinches the hair at the point of contact. When you wrap it around a ponytail, it compresses the strands underneath. When you slide it off at the end of the day, it drags against the cuticle and snaps the weakened hairs along the edge. Over weeks and months, that repeated friction creates a visible ring of breakage around the crown and the nape of the neck. Heavy claw clips create a different problem. They concentrate the full weight of the hair onto one point on the scalp. On thin hair, that point becomes a visible weak spot. The hair around the clip flattens, and if the clip is too tight, it can cause traction alopecia, a form of hair loss that comes from repeated tension on the follicles. This is something Black women in particular have historically been more prone to due to styling habits that place consistent tension at the roots. The solution is not to stop wearing your hair up, it is to wear it up in ways that protect rather than stress. Switch to silk scrunchies, spiral hair ties, the ones shaped like tiny telephone cords, hold hair without compressing it and slide out without dragging. Small, soft fabric elastics without metal connectors are another good option. For clips, choose lightweight cellulose acetate styles and position them loosely rather than clamping them tight against the scalp. A French pin, a simple U-shaped metal pin, holds a beautiful twist or updo with zero tension at the root. These are small swaps, a few dollars at most, and they eliminate a daily source of damage that adds up faster than most of us realize. Before we close, I want to ask you something directly. Of these 5 mistakes, which one did you recognize in your own routine immediately? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if there is something you figured out the hard way, a lesson that changed your hair journey, share it below. The wisdom in this community is worth more than any product on any shelf. Here is what I want you to carry with you from today. Your hair after 60 is not misbehaving. It is not giving up on you. It is not betraying you. It is responding to biology. And biology, once you understand it, can be worked with. Stretch your washes and switch to sulfate-free so your scalp's natural oils can finally do their job. Stop detangling wet hair from root to tip and watch the breakage at your crown slow to almost nothing. Rethink your color approach and give your strands a chance to recover their strength. Begin treating your scalp the way you treat your face, as living skin that deserves care and attention. And swap out the accessories that are quietly snapping your hair every time you reach for them. 5 changes. None of them require a prescription. None of them cost more than a few dollars. None of them ask you to become someone you are not. They simply ask you to stop working against your hair and start listening to it. Because your hair, in all its silver, gray, natural, and glorious form, deserves to be here. And so do you. If this video gave you something real, something you can actually use, subscribe to Ebony Aura. This is where we talk about what truly works for women like us, not what the ads sell, not what was designed for someone else, what works for us, in our bodies, in our lives, in our full and beautiful complexity. Until next time, you are not aging out of your beauty, you are growing into it.